Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Casey. This is Casey Undercovers, and today we are gonna do my August wrap up and September TBR. I'm a little bit late to filming this. I got kind of caught up in the magical readathon and starting my September read, so I'm sorry the video is late. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Before we get started, go ahead and hit the like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to come back for more bookish content, and let's get into it. Now, I had a little bit of a redemption in August. I read a total of 5 books, and I feel pretty good about that. One was more on the long side, one was kind of a long haul type of read, so let's go ahead and review those books. The first book that I read in August was Stephen King's Christine. This is a classic paranormal horror story that details the story of Artie Cunningham after he purchased a 1958 Plymouth Fury named Christine. Now, Artie is a very kind of outcast kid at school. He gets bullied, he has acne, he's in the chess club, he has overbearing parents. You get the kind of idea of what a kid in this time period would be dealing with. And when he buys Christine and starts fixing Christine up, despite his best friend's warnings, despite his parents' objections, he does purchase Christine and begin fixing her up. And as he restores Christine, he himself goes through changes. His acne clears up, he has some behavioral changes, he's rebelling against his parents, he starts dating a hot new exchange student. Lots of things are changing for Arnie, but also weird things start happening around him. Slowly and one by one, bullies around him start dropping like flies. Kids that assaulted him at school are turning up dead, and he just happens to be out of town or has an alibi every time something happens, but everybody's pretty sure that Christine is wrapped up in this somehow. I will complain that Christine was a rather slow book. It is very long. My copy is 644 pages. It took quite a while to get through this, but it was a suspenseful and entertaining read. The scenes where Christine is chasing the bullies down were like razor edge suspense. I really enjoyed reading them get their comeuppance because they totally deserved it. Suspense is really just Stephen King's bread and butter. Even if you don't think his bonkers ideas are very scary, more corny, the suspense in these books really does sell the story. Now, I can't say I was a fan of the characters in this book. They're all very unlikable, and maybe they were supposed to be, but like Arnie's going crazy, his best friend's doing scummy things, his girlfriend's doing scummy things. Like the guy that sold him a car is racist and acidic and terrible. Just his parents are overbearing and controlling and suck. Like there's no one to root for here. You're just watching it play out. One of the consistent complaints I have with Stephen King books, and I say this pretty much every time I read a Stephen King book, is his choice of language really turns me off. He blows the N-word out of the water all the time. Women are always described as bitches. In this particular book, there is a scene, actually 2 different times, Dennis is describing his 13-year-old sister as having a budding bosom, and that's just gross. I don't think brothers think of their little sisters that way. It's really creepy and really turns me off, but I was able to overlook it and did enjoy Christine overall. I rated Christine 3.5 stars, and I could recommend Christine to anyone looking for a nice spooky book for spooky season. It is a paranormal horror, there are ghosts, there's a haunted regenerative car, there's bullies, there's morally gray characters. There's a lot to unpack in Christine, so even though it wasn't my favorite Stephen King book, I do really recommend reading it if you haven't already. The second book that I read in August was the novella The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw, and I did a full spoiler video on this that I will link for you in the cards up here somewhere. So if you wanted to check that out, you could, but this book was absolutely unhinged. The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khaw is a reimagining of The Little Mermaid about 10 years after she marries her prince, who ends up being a slaughterous, homicidal, controlling bastard who cuts out her tongue so she can't speak. Now, she has bred with the prince, had a bunch of hybrid mermaid babies that go around and eat the kingdom, basically. So the mermaid and her best friend slash lover person, the plague doctor, venture to find a new kingdom to basically overtake. And along their journey, they stumble across a Lord of the Flies type group of kids who are hunting one of their own. and the plague doctor kind of holds the hunter accountable and is wanting to bring them to justice for murder, and the hunter kid is like, nah, he's fine, we take him to the saints, he comes back alive, everything's cool, you want to see? And so they go with the kids back to the village, where they meet 3 saints who are surgeons who do in fact restore these kids to life via Frankenstein type means, and that is actually where our plague doctor is from. Now there's a lot that goes on after that, but this book is so short, so I won't spoil it, the rest of it, for you here, but if you do want to see full spoilers, I'll leave it in the cards and in the description for you, because it's so short, but honestly it was a wild time. I really did not know how I felt about The Salt Grows Heavy, so I gave it 3 stars and decided to move on with my life. It kind of is sticking with me though, so I think I'm going to keep it and not unhaul it. I love an unhinged type of story. I love things that just go way beyond and bonkers. What I didn't love about this story was the SAT word just vomit all throughout the book. There were so many words in here that somebody just looked up in a thesaurus. They didn't fit. It didn't feel organic. It very much felt forced and detracted from the story. Like, the most erudite words are not always the best words for the story or for the audience. So that's kind of how I feel about this one. And I was really expecting more of the story of like the mermaid babies on parade type of story, but that's not what this is, and that's okay. Now I can recommend this book for girlies who love weird out there literature. You might enjoy this one. If you like mermaids, you might enjoy this one. I used it for the Herkid challenge for my merfolk prompt, and you could do that as well. It's an easy, quick read. Dark fantasy girlies, people looking for quick spooky stories, I think all of you could enjoy this quick little read, even though it wasn't my favorite. The 3rd book that I read in August is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is a wonder of magical realism, and I know a lot of people don't enjoy magical realism, but it is one of my favorite genres. There is something so special and so wonderful about magic touching our world, to me personally. I had this on my TBR probably twice in the past and didn't get to it, so I was so excited to finally read it because The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, the same author, was my favorite book of 2023, and I had really high expectations for this book. It was a 5-star prediction for me. And in The Starless Sea, we follow Zachary, who is a 25-year-old grad student who picks up a book in his university library one day and thinks it's a regular fantasy book until he comes across a story in the book that tells of his own childhood. And this story tells of a little boy who finds a painted door but decides not to go through it, and then continues on in the book to describe stories of other people who did go through their doors. Keen to discover more about this mysterious book, Zachary begins investigating, and it leads him to a masquerade party in Manhattan where he meets a variety of people who are not quite what they seem. And with his newfound friends, he does go through a door to the harbor which rests on the Starless Sea. And this is kind of an archive of knowledge, creation, stories, cats, everything a book lover would love to have. But it's not really at its peak. It is crumbling, it is decaying, parts of it are burned away. The Starless Sea is not to be found, and it's kind of a sad point to enter the story. I loved this book. I rated it 4.5 stars. It wasn't quite as good as The Night Circus, but I would still love to spend time at the harbor myself. There were times in this book where I felt that it wasn't clearly explaining what was going on, and it left me a little bit confused. There was a lot of imagery and a lot of metaphors that I felt weren't always fully explained or kind of tossed aside, but still we did get there. The Starless Sea reminds me quite a bit of Piranesi. If you like that kind of magical realism, go to another world type of story, this book does have those vibes. If you love books, dark academia, cats, secret worlds, and mysteries, then you may enjoy The Starless Sea as well. The 4th book that I read in August is A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. You can kind of see a theme here that I was getting an early start to spooky season. This is a quirky Southern Gothic mystery. And in A House with Good Bones, we follow bug scientist Samantha as she has been furloughed from an archaeological dig and goes and stays with her mother in rural North Carolina. And though the house that she's staying in is in a rural area, it is part of a development and part of a cul-de-sac. Now, this house that her mom lives in used to belong to Samantha's grandmother, known as Grandmay, who was a bit of a hag. She was a racist, nosy, a classist, and just kind of all around a bad person. She was abusive to Samantha, controlling, fat shaming, just not a good person. Now, when Samantha arrives at her mom's house, kind of tipped off by her brother, she notices that something strange is going on with her mom. The once vibrant and beautiful house has now been painted eggshell white. The fun decor has been taken down. A weird Confederate painting that used to be her grandmother's has been rehung. And her mother is acting strange, anxious, has lost a lot of weight. Things are really not normal here. Something that was especially odd is when Samantha visits the rose garden that was her grandmother's that nobody seems to be tending to, she notices that there are no insects in the garden, and that is not a sign of a healthy ecosystem. Also, there just happens to be like a neighborhood vulture chilling on the mailbox. Totally normal, I guess. Now, Samantha is worried for her mother and starts investigating, asking neighbors and friends if they've noticed anything wrong with her mom or noticed any changes. And the neighborhood eccentric Gail does tell her, yeah, I kind of know something, but I'm not really going to tell you. Sort of, right? In so many words. More weird things start happening. There are swarms of ladybugs in the house. Samantha experiences sleep paralysis and the sensation of being touched in her sleep. Ugh. And the mystery kind of goes on from there. The book is very short, so I don't want to spoil much more, but that's kind of the setup of the story. I really enjoyed like the creepy to cozy transition that this book goes through. It starts like it's gonna be a cozy mystery and then quickly goes off the rails. There is quite a bit of fun, spooky imagery in this book, and I really enjoyed that. And I will die on the hill that Hermes is the goodest of good vulture boys. What I really did not love and could not stand really in this book was the main character, Samantha. She is a very cringe millennial. I'm a cringy millennial, but this girl drove me insane. She had some of the most stupid ass ideas that I've ever seen put to paper. I understand that she is a scientist and is trying to explain in a rational way what these weird phenomena are, but the opposite of weird is not flat out stupid. I couldn't believe some of the things she was suggesting. I also didn't love the reveal of the mystery at the end. It kind of didn't work for me. I thought there was maybe one too many endings or twists, or however you want to phrase it. I rated A House with Good Bones 2.5 stars. I'm getting to the point where I think that maybe T. Kingfisher isn't for me. I read A Sorceress Comes to Call a few months ago and didn't really care for it either. Rated it 2 stars. So maybe T. Kingfisher just isn't for me personally. I know a lot of other people enjoy her books, but I do have 3 more already, so I guess we'll find out. And while I personally didn't enjoy this book, I do think other people will enjoy it. I think it's a fun, kind of short, quirky read for spooky season. It does have a lot of different elements to it that you could use on bingo cards and for her kid. So maybe you could try this one. This is a horror book that is creepy but not really scary. Unless you have a thing with bugs, then you might be a little bit more sensitive to this book than I was. The 5th and final book that I read in August took me the entirety of August to read, and that is The United States of Cryptid by J.W. Ocker. This book is essentially a road trip throughout America from New England to the southwestern deserts, exploring all of Americana mythology. Now, The United States of Cryptid very much is a tour guide kind of book. It will touch on the stories of the cryptids, but really wants to tell you about the towns that call them home. It really wants to sell to you visiting these small museums and these gift shops, and really wants people who haven't capitalized on cryptids to capitalize on cryptids. This book was more of a selling point than it was a real story. I read The United States of Cryptids while rewatching Supernatural and really enjoyed how some of the monsters from the books were tied into the show, so I kind of enjoyed it more than I probably should have. This book is not well written. The jokes don't land. It's really cheesy. It didn't get into cryptids the way I was hoping it would. It's more of a pitch for tourism. I didn't love that aspect of it. So if you want a book that's about cryptids, maybe there are better options. This one is fully illustrated though. I did enjoy the illustrations throughout the experience, and I do love kind of like the look of this book. But I only rated it 2 stars, so I can't say that I really recommend it. So it's pretty easy to see that the best book that I read in August was The Starless Sea, and the worst was The United States of Cryptids. Moving on into the books I'm reading in September, 2 of these I've already read. I'm filming this a little bit late, so I won't give reviews on them, just tell you a little bit about what they're about. And the first book I've read in September is Dead to the World. This is the 4th book in the Southern Vampire Mystery series by Charlaine Harris, also known as Sookie Stackhouse novels, also known as the True Blood books. I love these books so much. They're like little treats for me. They are paranormal romance books and they are a lot of fun. This one is about Sookie after she has broken up with Bill after the events of the previous book, and she's coming home from work one night and she sees Eric on the side of the road, stops to pick him up. He has no idea who she is, so it goes into kind of unraveling the mystery of what happened to Eric. And along the way, very early in the book, Jason goes missing. So a lot of things are going on in Bon Temps. These books are so much fun. I ate this up in 2 days. The second book I'm reading in September that I've already read is The Running Man by Stephen King, writing as Richard Bachman. This is a dystopian thriller and it was so much fun. This is my kind of book. Angry protagonist who's mad at the system. This is my kind of story. I wanted to read it before the remake comes out in November. I grew up watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger adaptation, but it is nothing like the novel. You gotta read the novel. It's very different. I loved it. I can't wait to review it, but this one. The third book I'm reading in September, I am halfway through. That is Rosemary's Baby by Levin. You can see a spooky factor going on in these books. I'm very much in the mood for spooky season. This is a classic paranormal horror movie. This is a classic paranormal horror story about a woman who kind of falls prey to a cult of Satanists who want her to give birth to the Antichrist. At least that's what I'm pretty sure it's about. I never saw the movie with Mia Farrow. I'm waiting till I finish the book to watch it. But I'm about halfway through and it's gone bonkers and it's so good. The fourth book that I'll be reading in September is Looking for Alaska by John Green. This is very much a tonal shift from everything else I'm reading this month, but I needed a book where I stole it from somebody else's TBR, and I stole this from Bo's Books. She's also reading this book this month, so this is a coming-of-age story. John Green is known for writing A Fault in Our Stars. That is a very much coming-of-age story, sad story, so I'm looking to see if this is going to be sad as well. I'm not sure. It's young adult, should be a quick read. I'm participating in Magical Readathon this month. I have 8 books to read, so I picked a lot of short ones. So hopefully this one will not be too bad of a tonal drop from the other things I'm reading. I will also be reading Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This is a thriller of some kind. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen the TV show. I know it involves moms. Thriller with moms. Mystery thriller with moms. I know that Liane Moriarty is an Australian author, which was a prompt that I needed for the Quest game, so that is why I chose this book. But really, I'm trying to go in pretty blind, so I'm not going to read the synopsis. But I've got a feeling some of you have seen the show or read the book. I'll review later. Another big tonal shift into cozy is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is a cozy fantasy book, and I know it's very low stakes. I know it's like sapphic romance. I know it's coffee shop girl. I am a coffee girly if there ever was one. Drink the coffee, then do the things. I am in coffee gear today. I think this book is going to be fun for me. I'm hoping I'm not one of the people that thinks it's just boring. I could do with a little cuddle after all of these Antichrist and spooky books, so I'm hoping this one will be a lot of fun. Keeping on with the fantasy vibe, I also intend to read Elphie by Gregory Maguire. This is the prequel to Wicked. Part 2 of the Wicked musical, Wicked for Good, comes out in November, so I want to have been fully caught up on the series by the time I see the movie. I've read the other 4 books in the series and also own the spin-off books, but haven't read them yet. But this is a short one. I think if any other book in this series is going to get a movie, it might be the prequel, depending on how good this is. But I really do want to read more about Elphaba. She's a great character, so her prequel childhood should be a lot of fun. And the final book that I intend to read in September is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenette McCurdy. I have been really on a nonfiction kick. I've been reading one nonfiction book at least every month. I'm ready for a memoir after reading some folklore and reading some historical and true crime books. So this is one that's been on my radar for quite some time. It's a very popular book about Jenette's traumatic relationship with her mother as she was forced into child acting. Basically, that's what I know about it. It's a rather short book as well, and also something I think I could read through quickly. Sorry I had to keep it short and sweet today, but I'm filming this before I have to go to work, so like, subscribe, and come back for more. At the end of the month, I will be doing a TBR game. I will be playing library card for the next month. I'm going to be changing it up a little bit, so come back and see that. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.